Yo, what is going on, everybody? My name is Zack and you are listening to the After the Bell podcast. Welcome back. Thank you for all who are listening right now. We appreciate you so much. And let's get on with the show. My guest today has been a great boxer for a while now. Actually has two middle names. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Ashton Abbott. Ashton, how are you doing?
Doing very good today. How about you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm just trying to get in the vibe, I'm just, really happy right now with how this podcast is turning out. So, can't wait to see what we're going to be able to talk about today.
Same here, same here. You already know. I've been trying to get on this podcast for a while now because you are just so sexy.
Thank you, man. Same for yourself.
I know.
Nah, I don't want to hear it, man. You are.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the thing I introduced you with. You have two middle names. Go ahead and let's talk about that. So what's your middle name?
Okay, so my full name. So I like to keep my the one middle name out because it's kind of embarrassing. So my full name is Ashton Jeffrey Joshua Abbott.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, cool. So who came up with your middle name? Did your parents unite it together, or did one of them just came up with two names?
So basically, they couldn't figure out a name, right?
Yeah.
So then they went to Las Vegas and got very drunk one night, and then they were just like, we hate our child. We're gonna give him two middle names.
Interesting.
That is exactly what happened.
Oh, interesting. Well,
Very interesting.
that's a great start. Uh, wow, I did not know that your parents would get drunk and decide to just, give you two middle names. That's very interesting.
Yeah, the Jeffrey part's actually named after my dad, and then the Joshua part's actually named after my grandfather.
Interesting. Wow, that's really cool. All right, so Ashton, since we are on the topic of everything about you, let's talk about you in boxing. How long have you been boxing for, and what makes that your favorite sport out of every other sport there is here?
Okay, so I've been boxing for like 3 years. It's the best sport because I believe you can be talented and stuff, but if you can't take a punch, you can't be a boxer. If you don't have heart, you can't be a boxer. You had to have it all to become a boxer. Some sports like football, you can rely on your teammates, but boxing you really can't. It's all you.
You're exactly right. If you can't take a punch, you really aren't that good of a boxer. I mean, you've got to keep that fight in you, and there's no one to tag in if you are getting weak and need somebody to fill in. You have to do it all by yourself, or it's going to end up as a bad result, definitely. So what makes boxing so fun for you? So is that how you, get your anger out, or is boxing just, do you just enjoy it in general?
Yeah, I just enjoy it in general. It's a lot of discipline and the training's really hard, and that's what I like. I like waking up in the morning and not being able to feel my body,
You like
how much
being
I
you
gotta
like
feel.
you like being put into a challenge. You like challenges. I could see that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely are a great boxer. I haven't seen much of you yet, but I mean, yeah, definitely. If you're boxing for 3 years and you love how much of a toll that takes on your body, I mean, hey man, you could be probably somewhere in the UFC doing things like Mike Tyson would do. You can be up there. Just gotta keep on putting in that work, man. Good for you.
Yeah, I do. So basically, what my training routine is, I go to school and I go straight to my boxing gym. I do boxing for an hour, and then I do Muay Thai for an hour. Then I'll do 7 rounds of sparring for MMA, then 3 rounds of sparring for kickboxing, usually.
Wow, that's a lot of rounds. How many of them do you usually win?
I usually win all of them, to be honest with you. The guys are much bigger than me, so they'll hit me hard and give me like black eyes though. But you can't stop the Ashton train, you know.
I definitely feel that. I mean, obviously, with you going against that many people, and obviously knowing that they're going to be bigger than you, you can obviously get into the routine of being like, okay, so this is the guy that is a couple feet bigger than me and is definitely stronger than me. Here's my way I'm going to take him down, because you always have to have a plan on what to do. There's just not just going into a ring and being like, okay, I'm going to swing a few punches and boom, it's a knockout. You've got to be focused and know what to do. So yeah, I definitely understand what that training routine must be like. Well, that's great. I mean, definitely going to be a good boxer.
Yeah, on the part of where you say you can't just go in there and swing, I think a lot of people think you can do that because you'll watch like these guys like Jake Paul and stuff who they don't really know how to box. They go in there against 42-year-old retired MMA fighters in a whole different sport, and they'll get a knockout and think, oh, you can just be naturally good at the sport. When in reality, you really can't.
Definitely, yeah, you've got to put in the work, got to put in the effort, or you're not going to get anywhere. Alright, so moving on to another topic. Obviously, we should probably include a little bit about what our daily lives are like in school. So, obviously, we are still enrolled in school, so we've got to include a little bit about how that's like. So, Ashton, what are your thoughts on school so far? And obviously, we're only halfway through the year. So, what do you expect to see happening throughout the rest of the year? And what are your thoughts on it as of now?
So yeah, school's going pretty well this year. Waking up every day at 6:30 is not that good, but yeah, two of our
Yeah,
teachers obviously they're very nice people. They're very nice ladies. The other two really aren't, but other than that, I can't complain. I think our sports team's gonna get better throughout the year. Like next year, I think our football team's gonna be really good. So is our basketball team.
definitely, yeah. With all the people that we have going into the high school teams, I mean, you have people like Brody, obviously, Braden Billman, Cam. Everybody that is on a sports team definitely can make a difference on the high school team. And I'm sure, hopefully, at some point, they can lead us into the playoffs and get us up there and possibly even win the playoffs, win the finals. It would be really cool to have that. So,
Yeah,
you go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, we really haven't had a successful team in a while since like the fourth grade, to be honest with you.
I mean, yeah, obviously we have people like Brody, Braden Billman, Cam, and all of these people that are going to make great people on sports teams, and hopefully they can lead us to a championship someday, getting us into the playoffs and winning the finals.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. There's some of those guys are very athletic and very good at sports, but the problem is with our school teams is that we really have people that carry each sport. We need to have more teamwork and stuff like that.
Definitely, yeah. So talking about teachers, you said you don't like two teachers in specific. So what subjects aren't you the biggest fan of, and why?
Social studies and science, and really just a science teacher has a very boring teaching style, and she yells at me for really no reason. I'll just be sitting there doing my work, and she'll just be like, "Ashton, be quiet," and stuff like that. I don't know why. I think she's just in a bad mood most of the days.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. Sometimes our science teacher can be, a little out of it, like obviously some lessons are boring and she recognizes that. She says that sometimes like it's not the best thing to learn, and obviously some people don't want to take that career path, but the sort of things that people say about the science teacher or just like other teachers, it's just like it feels disrespectful to me. Like I get that you can talk about how the teachers sometimes are talking about boring lessons and, how sometimes they're yelling at you for no reason and stuff like that. But,
Yeah, I
like some of the things they say, it just doesn't feel right to me.
yeah, I totally agree, man. Like, she does admit that the lessons are boring sometimes, and I do think it's kind of rude when people like will blatantly tell her to her face that I hate this class and it's boring. Cause like I guess she's trying her hardest, guys. Like, at least be thankful every once in a while.
Exactly. Like she's doing her job, and then the fact that just people are saying stuff behind her back and just saying like, oh, her class sucks, she's stuff like that, it's just disrespectful. And as I said, it's a class. It's like you're gonna be over it in April or May. I'm sorry, May. You're gonna be over it in May, and then you're gonna go on to high school, which is gonna be even harder and even more boring. So, don't criticize someone for doing their job when it's gonna get harder as it goes.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I kind of can switch that to the social studies teacher. Like sometimes, some days she's the nicest person, and she's really the nicest person when no one's like saying anything back to her and stuff.
Yeah.
And she tries really hard. I will agree that one day she had an off day where I was in the back of the class watching my MMA, right? And she comes
Hmm.
around, she sees that, and she's like, "That is absolutely disgusting that you're watching that in my class. It is so inappropriate." I think she kind of crossed the line there. So all I said back was, "It's really not any more inappropriate than your class." And then she gave me two write ups: electronic use write up and a disrespectful write up.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. I mean, it's a sport. She can have her opinion, but I mean, that's just interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I totally
Uh,
agree. Like, you can tell me to turn it off and stuff, but don't call it like disgusting and stuff. Like, I don't disrespect you, so please don't disrespect me.
yeah, some people like different things. I mean, and if you got all your work done and you have nothing to do, why would she care what you're watching or what you're doing? Obviously, if it's not anything inappropriate. But that's kind of stupid. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, some teachers are gonna have their off days, and people are gonna do that. But that just doesn't seem right. Go ahead.
was a yeah, and I had all my work done and stuff, so I really didn't understand that going back. And after I did that, what she did is she takes my iPad out of my hand, puts it in her desk. You know what she gives me?
Hmm.
She gives me a book saying the top 500 American history stories, and she goes, read at least 10 of them, or you have lunch detention for a week. Like that's not nice.
That doesn't make sense. That's just not right.
Yeah,
Wow.
for yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, moving on to a different topic here. Um, we obviously are massive fans of Marvel. Marvel's like been on a roll recently. What are your thoughts on No Way Home? Seeing all three generations of
So
Spider-Man come
yeah,
together.
I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home around Christmas. I think it was Monday, the couple days after Christmas Eve, and it was a really good movie. I thought the first like 45 minutes of it did start off kind of slow, but when it really picked the pace up, it was really good.
Oh
Especially
yeah,
with the best Spider-Man ever coming back, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire coming back, because Tobey Maguire is a sexy man.
yeah, definitely. Let's talk about that. So, who do you think personally is the best Spider-Man, the best Peter Parker, and the best at both? What are your thoughts on overall what the skills that Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire have, and
Oh
what
yeah,
what they are both altogether, and who's the best at each role?
yeah. So basically, me personally, I think the Tobey Maguire movies are kind of overrated. I don't really understand why. They become such a meme that people like them so much. So
J.
I
Jonah
really don't.
Jameson. Sorry, J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah. She does love Tobey Maguire. Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of his movies, to be honest. I think he just became such a meme that people automatically just say he's the best Spider-Man. So I don't think he's the best at either of them. I think Andrew Garfield by far is the best Spider-Man. The way he plays the role, you can tell how much he cares about it and how much
Definitely.
he really wants to be Spider-Man. Like when his girlfriend died in that movie, I genuinely thought he was hurt inside. You know what
It
I mean?
did. It really did look like that. Yeah. I mean, like some things to me, it just like it clicks a nerve. It's just like, dang, that really must hurt. And like, what if that situation can actually come to life for one of us someday? Like, we have to deal with grief over some sort of situation like that, and there's gonna be that time, and this like feeling that and knowing that that could happen to us one day. It's just like, ugh. I mean, I feel what that guy's gonna be through, what that guy's been through, and
Yeah,
crazy.
I 100% agree. He definitely makes you feel like you are in that movie with him,
Yeah,
100%. But unfortunately, my only problem with Andrew Garfield is I don't think he plays the Peter Parker role that well,
he's
to be
too
honest.
cool to be Peter Parker. Too
Yeah,
cool
bro.
to be Peter Parker.
Like, yeah, bro. There's no way. Like, he's way too cool and so so cool that like he's not a high school student like a nerd, bro. He's definitely like some popular, sexy man like me.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I feel like Tom Holland plays the best Peter Parker. I mean, you can
Well,
kind of feel like that.
100%. I think Tom Holland playing Peter Parker actually outshines his actual like Spider-Man role because
Yeah.
I when he's in the Spider-Man role, I kind of still think as him as Peter Parker. That's
Mm-hmm.
the reason I don't think he's the best Spider-Man ever because Andrew Garfield just makes you feel Spider-Man and Tom Holland just he really can't do that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I definitely feel like that. So, what are your thoughts on, Miles Morales and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? What are your thoughts on those movies and, why if whatever your thought is, why do you think that?
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of those animated Spider-Man movies. I'm not gonna like. I'm no offense to it, but like as a person, I'm not really into animated stuff in the first place, so I'm not gonna be into it that much. But I really felt like the movie was trying to be comical more than it was trying to be like a serious movie, and I didn't really see it as that funny.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. The movie definitely does outshine the entire action because Spider-Man's mainly based on action and like villains and heroes and stuff like that. So I don't really see they were definitely aiming more towards like the younger kids side of that. But for me, growing up, it was Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield was the thing, and then obviously some Tobey Maguire because I used to have this little DVD player thing that I used to always. I had the three Spider-Man discs on it: Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3, and I used to watch those movies, and I really thought at that time when I was like 5 or 6, I obviously didn't understand the whole skepticism, but like seeing Spider-Man come around from those places to defeat people like Doc Ock, the Lizard, and Electro, I really think those are cool heroistic things, and it kind of makes you want to be like them one day. So I just
Yeah,
don't see where the big heroic action thing is that are going to make people want to be Spider-Man in that movie. For me, it's just oh, it's a fun little comedy that's not even that funny.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. The Miles Morales Spider-Man movies, it's kind of like the new Venom, right? Like the new Venom, like
Yeah.
the parts where it was being serious and stuff. It was a very good movie, but they tried attracting that younger generation of people, like 8, 9, to watch the movie. So they try to have it comical. It's way too much, and it kind of took away the aspect of this is Venom, a raging, savaging villain.
Yeah, definitely. I actually haven't seen Venom Let There Be Carnage yet, so I don't actually think I've seen any of the new Venom movies. I'm getting there though because I've been watching a lot of Marvel recently.
Yeah,
I
I would
just
100% watch them. They're very good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to look at that because I finished watching all three of the new not yeah new all three of the old Iron Man movies back in the 2000s, and they were really good movies. So they definitely have some ups and downs in them, but I really like Robert Downey Jr. and how he portrays Iron Man and Tony Stark in basically all of the Avengers movies. So those movies are really interesting to me. And I'm about halfway through Captain America: The First Avenger. So I'm getting up to that point because I'm scattered around. I watched all the new Avengers Endgame. I watched Infinity War, stuff like that. I actually, funnily enough, I watched all of those movies. I haven't watched the original Avengers movie yet, so I'm getting there.
Yeah, I'm actually not seeing very many of the Captain America movies, to be honest with you. I've heard they're very good and stuff, but I haven't seen like the individual ones.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen many of them. Chris Evans is definitely a very good person to be playing Captain America. He's good at Captain America and everything like that. So it's
Yeah,
really cool to see him portray that. And then in Captain America, the first Avenger, the action and stuff, and then the comedy bits in that too. How they have those small little details that really can make for a big part of the movie. These small little itty bitty things can make for such a big part of the movie. That just the detail that Marvel puts into their movies in general is really, really good. So
Yeah,
props to them.
100%. Marvel does have some of the best detail ever. Like, especially like the Hulk movies, like Thor
Yeah,
movies. I meant Thor movies. Like Thor, like what's it? Thor Ragnarok has some of the slightest details. It's miraculable.
definitely. Yeah, they really do. They really did have a lot of detail in that movie. So,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. I mean, all Marvel movies, I think majority of them definitely tell stories and definitely make for great movies in the future. But overall, I'd say majority of movies are great from Marvel. Some of them, are a little lousy, but majority are really, really good. So,
yeah, I
yeah,
totally agree. Once unfortunately Stan Lee passed and they started to get a bunch of new writers, I think they picked better people to play the parts and stuff, and they picked people that really make you feel the part.
definitely. I feel that. All right, so Ashton, here's a quick question
Ye-
for you.
Yeah.
Have you around town? I feel like I've definitely been seeing a lot more electric vehicles coming around. Like you see a lot of Teslas and stuff like that. So, what are your personal opinions on the entire electric vehicle scheme? And how many electric vehicles have you seen around while you're out and about?
Yeah. I noticed too my boxing. I see a lot of Teslas and a lot of electric like trucks and stuff. My only problem, I love electric cars. I think they're a great way to stop pollution and air stuff like that. I think it's a great concept. But I do have a uncle who owns a car dealership, and uh he will tell you he has a lot of electric cars there. Like they hardly ever get sold just because like how expensive they are, and people really don't want
Yeah.
to have to charge them and stuff. They'd rather rely on gas.
I feel that, and adding on to that, I mean, you buy these electric vehicles, and the only place you could charge them really is your house because there's like barely any electric vehicle charging stations or superchargers around town at all. So the really only place you could charge them at is whenever you're at your house. So it doesn't really make sense, and the price, you're definitely right, it's very expensive to buy an electric vehicle. And I feel like if you're trying to reduce all that stuff, if you're really trying to get rid of air pollution and try and heal the environment a little bit, I feel like they should make electric vehicles cheaper than other cars because that'll get people to buy them more and put away their gas vehicles, and it'll make for more. Obviously, you're still making a lot of money because cars are still expensive either way.
Yeah,
So
I want.
you're still making profit, but it's not going to be as much as if you're obviously making it more expensive, but you're still making. Think about this, if you get the entire town, if you get all of the town, all of the city, all of the state to buy these vehicles, you're making millions of dollars alone just from that state, just from that city. So, if you do it worldwide, I'm sure you're still going to make a lot of revenue. So, I wouldn't be complaining. Just like, make these cars cheaper so people can afford them and people would actually buy them. And I'm sure you'd see air pollution go far down.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I think they should make them cheaper, because they're not. They also have a better way of making money, right? Because with the superchargers, right? You don't get
Yeah.
to get to charge your car for free, right? It's pretty expensive if you look at it. So they should make the cars much cheaper and put superchargers around more small towns like ours, so it's more accessible for people and people.
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, I love personally what Elon Musk is doing, making all of these projects. I mean, hell, the guy's flying people to the moon, putting things in the like on trying to go to Mars. The dude's definitely changing our atmosphere, how we look at it, changing science. So, I mean, the way he does all that, it's just astonishing. But I feel like definitely things can be executed better, and how much more, like, you're still making so much profit. Going back to what I was saying, you're
100%.
still making all of this profit that off of these electric vehicles, off of these things. And I understand making cars is expensive. You're reducing money, but you're also making a good bit back. So the obviously the asking price for Teslas are over $30,000. Majority of them, I'm sorry, over $30,000. So I'm sure the price to make them, I'm sure it's around that, but it's definitely probably a couple $1,000s cheaper. So I'm saying save the couple $1,000s and you're still gonna make a little bit of revenue. I mean, it's just the execution could be better.
100%. It definitely does not take $30,000 to make a electric car. Like the metal and stuff, it's high quality and stuff, but this definitely does not make $30,000. And if you notice, most stores they have charged like 15% more than what it takes to build it and construct it, right? So my guess for a Tesla, like the price to build it, so that we can buy it, is probably only takes like $15,000 to buy it. I think they're over pricing it quite a bit.
Well, actually, now that I'm looking at it, looks like here it says here, how much does it cost to make a Tesla? That information is proprietary to Tesla. However, reverse engineering analysis and teardowns estimate that the cost of building a Tesla Model 3 is around $28,000 for the materials and labor. So it actually is pretty expensive to make those cars. Obviously, it's only an estimate, but you're still gonna make money from the supercharging to the buying the car in general, from dealerships having to pay you some of the money, because all of that plus the things that you're putting around the world that people are going to be using, you're still making good money. And obviously I am horrible at finances, but even I can point out with being horrible at it that you're gonna still be able to make some revenue every once in a while.
Yeah, 100%. If you look at something like the Dollar Tree, right? Like they're selling everything for $1, right?
Exactly.
They're not making thousands of dollars for just one purchase. They're going off 10. They're going off 15-cent profits, and they're still able to pay employees thousands of dollars a year, and the owner's probably making a million plus a year. Like you don't need that extra like $2,000 profit. You can go off just like $500 profit, and if your item's actually as good as you say it is, it'll sell and you're gonna make a lot of profit.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. It's just, crazy considering all of that. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Well, all right, so moving on to the next topic here. I want to go back to boxing a little bit. And obviously boxing is a very high paid sport. Boxers get paid a lot. It's a worldwide sport. So, what do you think, obviously, do you think boxing money should be increased, decreased, or like what thing do you think people should take more notice to in the boxing industry that people aren't really paying attention to as much as they should?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know is boxing is known as one of the most corrupt sports there's ever been because there's been so many times where fighters have been taken advantage of. It's because people don't realize as a boxer, you don't. It's unlike a football player. You don't get to just get the money and leave. Boxers have to pay their promoters a bunch of money. They have to pay their manager a bunch of money. They gotta pay their cornerman a bunch of money, and they gotta pay their coach a bunch of money. So all those are like 5%, 10%. So you're really not keeping most of that money that you're earning. So I do believe most boxers should get pay increased, but some boxers like Floyd Mayweather, who is personally my favorite boxer to ever live, has highest paid athlete of all time. He made $1.5 billion in his career, but people on his undercard were only making $5,000 to show up and $5,000 to win, which is kind of disgusting. I'm not gonna lie.
It's sad.
Yeah, and a really sad boxing story is most people are gonna know Mike Tyson, right? You know Mike Tyson?
Oh yeah, Mike Tyson is one of the biggest boxing legends of all time.
Yeah. So back in the day, there used to be this guy named what's his name? I don't know, but it was Mike Tyson's manager, right? Don King. His name's Don King, right? And he was Mike Tyson's manager, right? And Mike Tyson, let's be honest, not the smartest person in the world, right? So
Yeah.
he was going through all these fights and he was making millions and millions of dollars, and he had Don King have like do all this money stuff, like pay the managers, pay the cornermen, right? And it turns out Mike Tyson actually went to jail for that short period of time. Once he got out, he looked at his bank account and he only had $600,000 in his bank account, right? Even though he's
Really?
making
Wow.
even though he's making millions and millions of dollars each fight. So he calls up Don King, and Don King doesn't answer him for a while or something like that, right? And it turns out Don King's been taking millions on millions of Mike's money, which is very unfortunate because if you look up the average death rate of boxing, like 8 people die in the ring every year. So he's risking his life just for people to take advantage of him and take his money.
That's that's just not right. I mean, that's fraud. Technically, if a man's in jail, taking advantage of him is not. No, that's not the thing to do. I mean, that's just downright disrespectful. I mean, they're risking, as you said, they're risking their life for the sport that they love to play and that they love to do, and you're stealing their money, which is a federal crime. You could go to prison for years for that. That's like robbing a bank, and not, and like the fact that John King wouldn't answer Mike Tyson, that throws up a red flag. I mean, having that's just not right. So
Yeah, I 100% agree. Boxing is known as one of the most political sports in the world, right? So like when they're trying to sign for a fight, it takes months because they always have to look over the contract 1 to 50 times because all the people like to hide stuff in the contracts and stuff, so the other person gets screwed over.
definitely, yeah. I mean, it is a big process to lead up to a fight like that. So I mean, it's crazy how like Floyd Mayweather gets paid billions of dollars, and then as you said, you only see people on the undercard getting paid only $5,000-$10,000 depending on if they win or not. So obviously Jake Paul called uh what's the name of the UFC
Woodley.
owner? What?
Tyron Woodley.
Yeah, I think it was that Tyron
Yeah.
Woodley.
My problem with Jake Paul is, yeah, I get where people are coming from, where he's saying he's bringing a lot of eyes to the sport. He's giving people bigger paydays and stuff. But these top promotions are gonna see Jake Paul and are gonna be like, oh, he's gonna pull pay-per-views even though he's not that good. They're just gonna feed him old retired guys, and he's gonna walk away saying he got all these guys more money and all that to make himself seem like a good person. But in reality, he's taken away from boxers who spent their whole life risking their whole life for stuff because Showtime, what the platform he's fighting on, is focusing more on him, who's really not a boxer, because he's fighting these MMA fighters who are retired and they're not good anymore. They're putting his focus on him instead of someone like uh up to Jake Paul. Jake Paul made Amanda Serrano a superstar, but
Hmm.
before that, Amanda Serrano was one of the greatest female fighters to ever get paid. She was getting paid $200 to $400 a fight because she didn't get promoted and stuff. So these fighters that Jake Paul isn't promoting on Showtime, they're getting paid nothing compared to what they would be if Jake Paul would just go and stop stealing the spotlight from all these top fighters.
Exactly, and then you see a couple of I think it was a month and a half ago at least, or maybe even earlier than that, might have been recent. That Jake Paul called out Dana White, saying that they haven't paid, that the people are underpaid, and then thinking about Jake Paul stealing that spotlight. He's not really getting people on Showtime paid either. I mean, he's taking all of the spotlight, trying to get as much fame as he possibly can, while they're leaving these other people who have done great things in their past, in their prime time, just to let out to dry to only make a couple $1,000s, which to me it's really unfair. But and
Yeah,
then the fact that he wants to call out Dana White for doing all of that, it's
yeah,
like
underpaying his fighters. Yeah,
you're kind of doing the same thing there, Jake. I mean, not to get on Jake's bad side or like be calling Jake out, but still, it's kind of like it just doesn't seem right for him to be calling them out for the same type of things that he's kind of doing at the same time.
yeah. As we know, boxing pay per views are really expensive. They can go from anywhere to 60 to $80, right? So
Yeah.
people are gonna pay for Jake Paul's fight, which is like are usually around like 70 something, right?
Oh,
And there's a
and
pay
yeah,
yeah, and there's a
definitely.
pay per view then and there's a pay per view the next week of someone that genuinely knows how to fight. People that bought the Jake Paul fight aren't gonna want to spend the money on the next fight next week just because how expensive the pay per views are.
You're exactly right. And then you have Jake Paul's last fight. Pretty sure to what I read, he got barely any pay-per-view sales, which having that, I mean, I'm sure he was kind of infuriated about that, but kind of came back to haunt him after doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I think he only got 25,000 pay per view buys, which if you do the math, 25,000 times $65, which was the pay per view thing, that
That
fight
is
that fight alone that fight alone only made $1,625,000, which Jake Paul is pocketing most of that money.
yeah, and it's sad because obviously all of that you're still paying the other fighters, which is good. Yeah, you're paying them, but still you're underpaying them because you're making probably 2/4, maybe 3/4 of that money. I mean, you
Yeah,
gotta put
100%.
it into more perspective. These people that are fighting before that main event, they have to take care of themselves too. I mean, obviously, you want to make all that money so you can show off, so you can have all that fame, so you can have Lamborghinis and all that stuff. But, you've got to think about people have lives to live. They've got to take care of their families. Because you don't know what people can be going through. And, him stealing majority of that money I don't feel like that's right at all.
Yeah, 100%. What I feel like Jake doesn't realize when he's talking about all these good things he does is he came to boxing as a second option. He already had social media, a platform with millions of people on it. People
Yeah.
are people are literally born like Floyd Mayweather, for example. He was literally born into a boxing family and started fighting when he was like 4 years old. So like he's worked his whole life for that. And Jake Paul is just taking it away from other people.
Definitely, yeah. And talking about social media things, I mean, you kind of gotta respect how obviously Logan Paul and KSI, all of these social media empires are, they're respectful. I mean, hell, one of them's Jake Paul's brother, and he respects all of the people that he's fighting, all of the people on their card, and there's probably still some of that stuff happening behind the scenes, but I feel like Jake Paul is more selfish than any of them, and he really just is more self-centered than his brother, his other opponents, anybody. I mean, in the boxing ring, I feel like he's just really, really, really selfish.
Yeah, I agree. Logan, who is a 220-pound man, fought Floyd, who fought all the way down at 135 at one point of his career. Furthest highest weight he fought was 147 welterweight. So like he's really has no business as 190 as he fought at 190 pounds. He weighed in the day before to fight a guy that's 147 pounds. Like if a real boxer were to fight, if a real 190er were to fight a 170 or 147er, the 190er would knock out the 147er in minutes because weight classes do matter. The fact that Logan Paul on everyone's scorecard only won one round, it's kind of sad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so with the final part of today's podcast, obviously we love to do some trivia games and stuff. So obviously with us being big fans of Marvel, I say let's put your Marvel knowledge to the test, and how about we do some Marvel movie trivia?
That sounds great, man. Let's do it.
All right, you ready to get into this?
Oh yeah.
All right. And obviously, Nathan beating Cameron by one question, 10%. Last podcast. If you haven't seen that yet, be sure to go on over and watch that episode because I'm sure you will enjoy it. So, do you think you'd be able to beat that 80% record with these 10 Marvel trivia questions?
I mean, I watch a lot of Marvel. I don't know how good my trivia is, but me and you, we are the best men to ever live when it comes to Marvel. So I think we can do it.
All right, let's see if you can knock this down. Number one. What kind of doctor is Stephen Strange? So, Doctor
Uh,
Strange, is he A, plastic surgeon, neurosurgeon, pediatric surgeon, or orthopedic surgeon?
he is a neurosurgeon.
Neurosurgeon, is that correct? That is correct. Before he became the master of mystic arts, Dr. Stephen Strange was a brilliant neurosurgeon. Good job, Ashton. You have one correct
Thank
on a
you.
good start. Good start already. Number two. Who made Captain America's shield? We have Tony Stark, Howard Stark, Abraham Erskine, or Reed Richards.
Who was the last one?
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards. I don't think it was Reed Richards. Can you read the options to me one more time?
Tony Stark, Howard Stark, Abraham Erskine, or Reed Richards? Let's see here. This is a little tough one.
Uh, I'm gonna go with C.
Abraham Erskine. Is that correct? Incorrect.
No.
Alright, down to three options. That means you probably have to get every single one of these last questions right to get the win. I mean, alright, so going back to number two here, let's see if you can redeem it. Is it Howard Stark, Tony Stark, or Reed Richards that made Captain America's shield?
Is it Tony Stark?
Is it Tony Stark? It is not.
Who was it? We already talked about this. I didn't watch much Captain America ever.
It was Howard Stark who made Captain America's shield. It says, in Captain America, the first Avenger, Howard Stark equips Rogers with a circular shield made of vibranium, a rare, nearly indestructible metal.
Did you know that one?
I did not.
Yeah,
I have
did
not watched that movie yet. I did
I
see
have
the
not
shield.
either.
I saw the shield in the movie, but I did not know who made it yet. Alright, moving on to number three, though. Who destroys Thor's hammer? We have Hela, Thanos, Loki, or Ultron.
What was the first one?
Hela or Hela,
Yeah, I think it's her, right?
I think. I'm gonna look up how to pronounce that.
She crushes it in Thor Ragnarok before he gets the big fiery guy to come out and kill her for her.
I'm just gonna Hela Avengers pronoun see. What's this say?
How do you say it? Hela.
Hela. Okay. Yeah. Alright, going back. Alright, moving on to number three. Who destroys Thor's hammer? We have Hela, Thanos, Loki, or Ultron.
I know for sure it's not Loki and Thanos, so I'm definitely gonna have to go with Hela, just on the fact that I've read a comic book with her in it, and in the comic book, she breaks Thor's hammer. So I'm gonna go
Alright,
with
is that correct? Is Hela correct? That is correct. In Thor Ragnarok, Hela orders her younger brothers to kneel down before her. Thor defiantly hurls his hammer at her, but Hela, who is the hammer's first wielder, catches it
right?
in midair and destroys it with her bare hands.
Yeah, I remember that exact scene right now, actually.
That's crazy. Alright, well you have 2 out of the 3 questions correct. You have to get all of these correct to ace this and win over Nathan and Cameron, cementing your legacy as the best trivia person on this podcast thus far. Do you think you can do it?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, number 4. Let's see if you can get this. It says, what part of Tony Stark's armor keeps him alive? We have the helmet, the plasma generator, the solar tiles, or the chest plate.
That is probably the toughest one yet. Honestly, it's definitely his chest.
Is it the chest plate? It is correct. It says, under the premise of building a weapon for the terrorists that have captured him, Stark constructs an iron bodysuit with a magnetic chest plate to keep the shrapnel from reaching his heart.
Yeah, and Spider-Man, the new one. When Doc Ock gets him, the chest saves him.
You're exactly right. Number 5. Let's see if you can keep this streak up. Have to get all the rest of these questions right to get the win. What kingdom does Black Panther rule? This is easy. You have Sokovia, Krakoa, Genosha, or Wakanda.
Oh, I've never seen Black Panther. That's a tough one.
Really?
But I'm about to go Wakanda forever.
Wakanda is correct. T'Challa is officially crowned king of Wakanda after his father's death. As the Wakandan monarch, he also inherits the mantle of the Black Panther.
Wait, I'm just kidding. I watched Black Panther on repeat, by the way.
All right, all of these are correct so far, other than one. Let's see if you can keep that going. What memento does Peter Quill have from his mother? A mixtape, a diary, a photo, or a rabbit's foot?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I'm not even sure about this one.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure about this one. I'm trying to think back to like the Tobey Maguire days.
This is definitely a tough one.
This is like Tobey Maguire days. Oh.
I'll give you a hint.
Give me a hint.
I'll give you a hint. It's something that you wouldn't expect it to be.
I was gonna say, knowing Marvel, it's probably the rabbit's foot.
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer.
Oh God, that is incorrect.
No.
Okay, don't frout though. You have a chance to tie with Nathan in first place.
I'm gonna tie.
All right, so let's finish up this one question. Is it a mixtape, a diary, or a photo?
Is it a mixtape?
It is a mixtape. Meredith Quill put together a mixtape titled Awesome Mix Volume 1 so her son could hear all the songs she used to listen to when she was growing up. After his abduction, it is one of the few mementos Peter has from Earth. All right, man. All right.
Definitely a Tobey Maguire days.
Definitely. Well, all right, number 7 here. This one's a little hard considering you haven't watched that much Captain America. Let's see if you can get it correct. It says, what is the name of the British agent Captain America teams up with in World War II? Is it Maria Hill, Peggy Carter, Carol Danvers, or Jane Foster?
That's a tough one. Jane Foster.
Is Jane Foster correct for a chance to tie with it? Is it correct? No! Oh man.
I'm not. All the Captain America questions that screwed me, bro.
Ah, man. Alright, we'll take another guess. Let's see if you can get it correct.
Give me the first option. That's the one.
Maria Hill, is that correct? No!
Well,
it's either Peggy Carter...
Butter me up.
Go ahead.
Well, butter me up because I cannot believe this right now.
Man, you lost the first place opportunity. You still have a chance to tie with second place, though. Man. Alright, well...
It's Captain America.
It is all the Captain America questions that screw you up. Is it Carol Danvers or Peggy Carter? What's your final guess here?
Alright. Peggy Carter.
Peggy Carter is correct. After Steve's transformation to a super soldier, Peggy Carter assists him in becoming the world's first superhero, falling in love with him along the way. After his disappearance in 1945, she continues the fight against Hydra and becomes one of the founders of the S.H.I.E.L.D. That's very interesting. You were close. I will say you were close.
You got on the third attempt.
Third attempt. Man, close. You can still make it a second place tie, though. What Top Gun character is Captain Marvel's cat named after? Number 8. Is it Iceman, Goose, Maverick, or Viper? This might screw you over, too.
These are not my generation. These questions are not my generation, man. Right.
Captain Marvel was only released a few years ago. So, I mean, it could be tough.
Captain Marvel either.
I have not watched Captain Marvel, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Let's see. Can you get this correct, though? You have Iceman, Goose, Maverick, or Viper.
We're going to go with Viper.
Final answer? Is that...
No, it's not my final answer, actually. Can you repeat?
Okay.
What's the second one again?
You have Goose as the second one.
What's the first one?
Iceman.
I'll go with Iceman.
Iceman, final answer.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Is Iceman correct? Well, that's incorrect.
Oh.
Well,
Really?
yes, it's incorrect. The correct answer was Goose. While she looks a lot like a cat, Goose is actually an extremely dangerous alien known as a Flurkin. She goes with Carol Danvers and Nick Fury into space during their quest to find Marvel's laboratory. After saving Skrull refugees and protecting the Tesseract from the Star Force and Kree soldiers, Goose is responsible for permanently blinding Fury's left eye with her claws.
Oh, come on. As soon as this podcast ends, I'm going to go watch some Captain Marvel.
Alright. Well, I mean, it's third place isn't bad. Let's see if you can get these final 2 questions right here. In Ant-Man, what hero disappears into a subatomic quantum realm while disabling a Soviet nuclear missile? You have Yellow Jacket, Ant-Man, Atom, or Wasp.
Ant-Man's the one who gets stuck.
Ant-Man, is that correct? It is not!
Yeah.
It's not correct. He left. He left the call. Oh, man.
Hey, looks like I might not be a real Marvel fan after all, huh?
Yikes moment, bro. Oh, man.
No, because
Alright.
no, he gets stuck, and then other people have to pull him out, right? Or am I thinking of a different movie?
I don't know. I'm not even sure. Is it? Let's see. Is the correct answer... What's the... You have Atom, Wasp, or Yellow Jacket. What are you going to go with?
Yeah.
Say that again. You kind of glitched. Jesus Christ. Say it one more time. You're really glitching out.
The Atom dude.
Alright, is Atom it? Atom's not even correct either. Alright, you're down to Wasp and Yellow Jacket. What are you going to go with?
We'll go Wasp.
Wasp is correct. In a flashback, Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, sacrifices herself to disarm a Soviet ICBM bound for the United States and is presumed dead. Alright, man. Let's end off with one more question. Obviously, you watched Black Panther before. What metal is Wakanda's most precious resource? Dilithium, vibranium, mithril, or adamantium?
It's vibranium.
Vibranium is indeed correct. Millions of years ago, a meteorite made of vibranium, the strongest substance in the universe, struck the continent of Africa, affecting the plant life around it. And when the time of men came, 5 tribes settled on it and called it Wakanda. Alright, Ashton, you had 50%. Half and half. Majority of Captain America questions screwed you over. Unfortunately, that only leaves you in third place. That's still really good. We'll have to see if our next guest here on the show can beat you or even get
like
lower.
I can't be shooting like Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal, that's how I've been shooting recently.
50% from the free throw line.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for coming, Ashton. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Great time hanging out with you. Hopefully one day we can talk again on this podcast, man. Great to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah. Next time, we'll talk about my stand-up comedy.
Yes, we definitely have to talk about that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the After the Bell podcast. I've been your host, Zack alongside my guest for this episode, Ashton Abbott, and we are out. Peace out.
That didn't go very good, did it?
No.